Sorry. Good evening. This evening we are continuing our book, Swami Trigunatita, His Life and Work. He was one of the original disciples of Sri Ramakrishna and came to San Francisco, built the first Hindu temple in the United States, which is still there today, and died here in this country. But I'm not going to tell you how, because that's in the story. We're on chapter 5, if you're following along in your book. It's beginnings. Swami Trigunatita's voyage from Colombo to San Francisco was miserable. From Shanghai, he sent a postcard to Sri Purnachandra Set. The above picture is the SS Bern, our Imperial German mail steamer, on board of which I am now. The Chinese sea was very rough. I had to be bedridden owing to awful seasickness. Now better. But the Swami was not better for long. The voyage across the Pacific from Yokohama again kept him in his berth for the entire 18 days. But at length, in the early morning of Friday, January 2nd, a day ahead of time, the SS American Maru sailed through the Golden Gate and into the calm waters of San Francisco Bay. Wearing a bright Gerawa robe, that's the orange robes that the sannyasins wear, and a tall, complexly wound turban, the young Swami, he would be 38 on January 30th, was met by somberly dressed members of the Vedanta Society. The men in dark suits, their short shirt collars high and stiff. The women also soberly attired, except for hats festive with flowers, fruit, and feathers. This delegation must have greeted the Swami with great cordiality and joy, for the Vedanta Society had been orphaned for over 7 months, during which it had valiantly struggled along on its own. Its members were thirsty for the guidance of a direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, to which they had been accustomed. Swami, wasn't it Trigunatita had been there? No, Vivekananda had been there. After all exclamations of welcome and mutual greeting had been made, the Swami, weak from his sea ordeal, was escorted. By what means we do not know, except that it could not have been by automobile, to the residence of Dr. Milbourne Logan, president of the society, where he would be cared for and given whatever medical treatment he might need. Dr. Logan's home, which stood on the northeast corner of Oak and Steiner Streets, was large and fine. Dr. Logan being a financially successful physician. Now, nor was it an ordinary house. Since May of 1900, it had given shelter to 3 direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. Swami Vivekananda had lived there during the last 2 weeks of May in 1900, when he was ill and needed the care of a doctor. He could not have had more devoted care than Dr. Logan's, and he, in turn, had cared for his host, sitting by his bed for long hours after the latter had suffered a paralytic stroke. Then in the last days of May, his last days in California, he gave, in that house, his now well-known series of Gita lectures. 2 months later, Swami Trigunatita came to San Francisco. Although the Swami spent most of his time and energy in Shanti Ashram in the San Antone Valley, some 80 miles southeast of San Francisco, which Swamiji had asked him to develop into a year-round retreat. He worked also in the city, and when there, stayed at Dr. Logan's house for a large part of the time, some 7 weeks in February and March in 1901, regularly holding Raja Yoga and Gita classes. Then in the summer of 1901 came Swami Abhedananda on a visit from the East Coast. After visiting his brother-disciple in Shanti Ashram, he too stayed at Dr. Logan's for a few weeks in August. So the residence at 770 Oak Street, to which Swami Trigunatita came, was already a kind of holy place, and his host, a fervent devotee of Swami Vivekananda. Dr. Logan's wife, who had been openly hostile to this craze of her husband's for Vedanta and the Swamis, had died 2 years earlier, leaving him free to convert the ground floor of the house into the Vedanta Society's headquarters. And a regular meeting place, which he had promptly done. His sister, who was as hostile as had been his wife, still lived with her brother, but had no say in his vagaries. There would seem no reason then why this commodious, and more or less conveniently located house, which Dr. Logan was eager to put into the service of the Swami's works, could not have become the permanent headquarters of the Vedanta Society. But as we shall shortly see, other forces were to prevent this, forces moving within Dr. Logan, and it would seem clear behind the waves of the Vedanta movement itself. Swami Trigunatita was in need of rest. Not until the evening of January 7, 5 days after his arrival, was he given a reception by the members of the Vedanta Society, or the Vedanta class, as it was sometimes called. Originally, in Swamiji's time, Vivekananda, the membership had numbered 25, and we can assume it was about the same in 1903. In any case, all the members who had been bereft not only of Swamiji, but of Swami Trigunatita, sorry, I'm getting used to new glasses, came eagerly to meet their new spiritual leader. For his part, Swami Trigunatita was open-minded, jolly, loving, and wanting only to serve those who would come to him. At this first meeting with the society members, he gave an informal talk, and in reply to many questions, regaled his fascinated listeners with demonstrations of Indian salutations and methods of eating, and particularly just drinking. Just open the mouth. Cara French. I don't know if any of you have ever tried this. The glass is about out here. You open your mouth and you pour in. That way the glass can be shared with everyone. Cara French recalled in her reminiscences, raise the pitcher to arm's length and pour the water down the throat. No spilling, no sputtering or choking, no swallowing. Why, yes, just as easy as that. He showed us the forms of salutation, she continued, the casual greeting, the bow of respect with folded hands, bowing down to the guru, and prostration before the deity, in which last aspect he lay prone with arms extended. Everyone was, of course, enchanted. But Swami Trigunatita wasted no time. These happy preliminaries over, work began. That very evening, he asked Mrs. French to come see him the next day. The primary purpose of that interview, she recalled, was to discuss the monthly magazine, Pacific Vedantan, which was being published by Dr. Logan on behalf of the Vedanta Society, and with which all was not well. But the Swami wanted also simply to talk with his student, who, as he would tell her much later, he had at once spotted as his own. Cara French's husband, Clinton, owned and operated a small printing business, where Cara also worked from time to time. She had been attracted to Swami Vivekananda from the start, and later to Swami Trigunatita, but had not taken initiation from either one. She had, as it were, waited for Swami Trigunatita, and this he had known with his unerring ability to read not only the thoughts of people when he chose, but also the still deeper currents of a soul moving towards God. As the new teacher of the society, he was already looking into the innermost minds of those whose lives he would be guiding. In addition, he at once investigated the society's problems. What details he asked Mrs. French about the society's magazine, then being printed by her husband, we do not know. But this magazine posed a problem which was of much concern to the society, in which the Swami had heard from Swami Trigunatita. He at once zeroed in on it. We shall hear more of it. That evening, Thursday, January 8th, Swami Trigunatita held a question class at Dr. Logan's house on the ground floor, which the doctor had renovated and furnished as a meeting hall for precisely such functions. We do not know how many people attended this class, but probably the same number, 25 or 30, that had come to the reception the day before. We have, however, what seems to be a full transcript of the class, in which the questions, concerned primarily with karma and reincarnation, came fast and thick, over 50 questions in all. Swami Trigunatita answered to the point, seeming always to grasp the thrust of the questions that came from an entirely different cultural background than that which had produced and developed the Vedanta philosophy. He did not talk down to the class. He gave his answer straight and clear, explaining in simple terms somewhat intricate concepts, such as the mechanisms of perception, the different functions of the mind, the meaning of the individual and universal soul, the reasons behind transmigration, and the big question as to why the whole thing began in the first place, to which he later explained clearly and patiently the logic of its unanswerableness. Let us quote. Question: I understand about coming back, but why did we come at all at first? Swami Trigunatita: the very first, creation, why world is created. There's a very deep philosophy in that. Everything is governed by time, space, and the law of causation. We cannot imagine anything without the idea of time, and so we cannot imagine anything without the idea of space. We cannot imagine anything that is not affected by the law of causation, cause and effect. Everything must have a cause. So when we say, why such and such a thing happens, we can go no further. There is no why to that, because nothing exists before that. With reference to a later thing, we may ask why. But with reference to that universal energy, we get nothing before it as a cause. Therefore, we say that it is self-evident, self-existent, and ever-living and infinite and eternal energy, And because of the existence of the energy, the world has been manifested, and we belong to this world. And being matter in the hands of the laws of nature, we go and come back again and again by our own actions. If we come to know that we are but that same one universal soul, we have no chance to come again. And that knowing is one of our karmas, is one of our works. If we do that good work, that ideal work, then we are freed. That is the reason why we come again, and that is the reason why the universe is manifested, because one universal force, one universal energy, one universal soul resides there. As owning to the existence of the sun, we see the world, so owing to the existence of the universal soul, we see the manifestation of this universe. That is the reason, only reason we can give. If you go further, there is no answer because there is one. Where there are two things, you may ask why. But where there is only one thing, no second to it, there is no why. There cannot be any why. Question: what proof is there of reincarnation that we have been here before and will be here again after we die? The questions went on and on. The Swami explaining the Vedantic view of death, of transmigration, of progression and retrogression, of souls and individuality. Finally, someone asked about God. Question: what is your idea about God? Is he a personal God? Swami: he may be anything. Whatever I see all around me is the shape of God. If you use the term God, in my sense, God is anything and everything. God can be a man, a brick, a piece of stone, absolute anything. God can be God himself and all of nature. Question: therefore, we understand you to mean that God is the all in all. Swami: yes, whatever you see, everything is God and God alone. There is nothing at all except God. Therefore, we are called Advaitist, non-dualist. There is no duality at all. There is one thing, God, and we want to know that, to realize that, and if we know that, we are free. There is no misery, no happiness, nothing at all. No heaven, no hell, no birth, no death, no struggle at all. Taken as a whole, this class was an outline of Vedantic thought. The Swami had set the tone and direction of his teaching. He would teach Advaita Vedanta. He would teach it straight, with patience, and with comprehension of the Western mind. At the end of the class, during the course of replying to a question, he said, if we get the light in this very life, then in this very life, we can be conscious that we are freed men. In this very life, we can be conscious, and that means we know what we shall be hereafter. And in that case, there would be no fear of death. Where there is darkness, there is fear. Somebody may stab. Question: so you came to enlighten our darkness? Swami: oh, don't say that. Nobody can enlighten anyone. One enlightens oneself. Question: but we can cooperate with each other. Swami: certainly. We have a little amount of fellow feeling, being human beings, a little heart. Swami Trigunatita, of course, had a great deal of heart. His purpose was to bring fire from which others might light their own lamps. His method was his own, which could be said of every one of Ramakrishna's monastic disciples who spread the Master's light and teachings. Each was original, each was unique. It could perhaps be added that Swami Trigunatita was unique among the unique. But however that might be, behind all these great Swamis propelling them all, stood the same and sole motive: to help others attain to God realization. 4 days after his reception at Dr. Logan's meeting, a meeting was held at which the officers of the society and Swami Trigunatita, and this is a quote, decided upon a reorganization of the Vedanta Society upon a more definite basis. As we said above, the Swami wasted no time. Faced with the responsibility of reviving and directing the work that Swamiji had started and that Swami Trigunatita had cared for, he seems immediately to have acquired a new dimension. Overnight, as it were, he became a leader. But before we recount his vigorous and thorough reorganization of the society, it may be helpful to take a brief look at what he was reorganizing. On April 14th, 1900, immediately after Vivekananda's last public lecture in San Francisco, some of his devoted followers had suggested to him that a society be formed for the continued study of Vedanta. He was agreeable. According to one report, he said happily, "Why not?" and advised that a society be started then and there. So he and those interested moved into a room adjoining the lecture hall, and there the inaugural meeting took place. According to the minutes of that first meeting, the first purpose of this organization was to assist Swami Vivekananda in his work in India and to study the Vedanta philosophy. Dr. Plum, a woman doctor, was chosen president, and Miss Misner, secretary and treasurer. The organization was named the Vedanta class. The dues were to be $1 a month, and the meetings were to be held weekly on Thursday evenings at the downtown offices of Dr. Logan at 610 Geary Street, not the doctor's house, for his wife was still living, and, as noted earlier, would not give this budding society house room. The second meeting was duly held on Thursday evening, April 19th. Mr. Charles Nielsen, an artist who was a friend of Swamiji's, read from and spoke on the Gita and was asked to continue the service for each subsequent meeting. Thus began the Vedanta Society of San Francisco, much later to be officially named Vedanta Society of Northern California. The early name Vedanta class was gradually and quietly dropped. From April 19 forward, the Thursday meetings were held without a break. Swamiji attended at least one of them, that being the one on May 24th, 1900. But the other classes survived on the readings of Mr. Nielsen, and perhaps others. After Swamiji left California at the end of May, the San Francisco Vedanta Society was without a Swami until the arrival from New York of Swami Trigunatita on Thursday, July 26th. He met the class that evening at Dr. Logan's office, and for a week held daily meditation classes at the flat of Mr. and Mrs. Carl Peterson at 3109 Buchanan Street. But before the next Thursday evening class could be held, Swami Trigunatita was off to Shanti Ashram, of which there'll be more later, with 8 students in order to develop a retreat, as Swamiji had requested. The class in San Francisco went on, propelled by the devotion and enthusiasm Swamiji had poured into the hearts of its members. By the time Swami Trigunatita returned to San Francisco on January 27, 1901, Mrs. Logan had died, and thus, after staying a week at the Petersons, the Swami arranged to hold classes at Dr. Logan's house, the door being now wide open. He held daily meditation classes at 10 in the morning, a Raja Yoga class on Tuesday evenings, and a Gita class on Thursday evenings. He also talked informally to the students, many of whom, particularly those who had known him at Shanti Ashram, felt a deep affection and reverence for him. On March 26, he left San Francisco for 3 weeks to look after the work in Los Angeles and Pasadena, placing the San Francisco class in charge of Miss Lucy Beckham, an erstwhile director of the Alameda Home of Truth. On April 25, 1901, the Swami left again for Shanti Ashram, stopping less than a week in San Francisco. The 2 months period of work in San Francisco from January to March, during which he also held classes in Oakland and Alameda at the homes, respectively, of Mr. Frank Rodenhamel and Miss Mary McGee, was in fact the only period during which the Swami Trigunatita worked in the city. One cannot say, therefore, that during his ministry, the city work, which was early at its early period, gave a foundation and structure to the society as a whole. The work at Shanti Ashram, far from the city, was the Swami's love. And, okay. In mid-October 1901, Swami Trigunatita returned from the ashram to the Petersons' flat in San Francisco. He gave a lecture at Dr. Logan's on October 17th, and the next day fell ill. He was bedridden at the doctor's house for over 2 weeks, and November 5 returned to the Petersons, where he remained quietly until the last day of the year when he went again to Los Angeles. On January 8, he returned to Shanti Ashram, where his physical condition worsened. Learning of the poor state of his beloved disciple's health, Swamiji became much concerned and sent for him to return to India. Accordingly, Swami Trigunatita sailed from San Francisco on June 6, 1902, and Swamiji made arrangements for Swami Trigunatita to replace him, temporarily at least. A large delegation from the class was present to bid him farewell and Godspeed. But when Swami Trigunatita's ship stopped at Rangoon in mid-July, and when he learned that Swamiji had left his body, the blow was insupportable. He knew he would never have the heart to return to the West. And I think we'll stop there. Any questions or comments about anything about Swami Trigunatita's, the start of his work? Anyone here? Anyone on Zoom? Good to see you all on Zoom. Okay, the announcements if there's no questions. Saturday, Saturday the 24th, we're going to have the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna with Swami Chidramananda. Then on the 25th, Sunday, we will have Swami Dhyana Yogananda from Trabuco speaking, and his topic is Already Whole. We have just finished Swami Brahmananda's puja, so we won't have another puja until February. Swami Sarvadevananda will be coming up he'll be giving the Bhagavad Gita class on the 31st of January. He'll be here the first weekend in February. Any questions or anything more? Okay, then we'll close with a chant. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat, Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.